it's me, Dirty Girl, and this is Muffin, and we're here to do our sales video for the month of December 2018. It's going to be a long one today because, you know, December is the biggest month of the year, and Muffin's not really that happy to be here, so I think she's going to bolt in just a minute. But anyway, you got to see her. And in case you're wondering, what is wrong with that woman's hair? Well, I'm growing it out, and it looks about like the haircut I had when I was 6. It's really horrible. I can't do anything with it. I'm hoping in another couple of months I'll be able to do something with it. But we'll see. Okay, so without further ado, we are going to move on to the sales report. Okay, so I'm going to start with Etsy because that's where I sell most of my items, and then I have a few eBays to show you at the end. And the first item is this old coral necklace. It's probably an antique. I got this for $4 at the rummage sale at my mother-in-law's retirement home, and I sold it for $75, so that was a pretty good one. Let's see. And this is another nice old piece. This is probably an Art Deco 1920s to 30s, sterling silver and green. I don't know how to say this word, but I call it chalcedony, but that's probably not right. But anyway, it was a really unusual brooch with these two half-cylinder shape. There is a name for that cut, and I forget what it is. But anyway, I paid $5 for that at the flea market and sold it for $55. These were unusual. I wasn't sure exactly what to call them. Ankle protectors, gaiters, spats, boot toppers. I called them all kinds of things. They're leather. They're really old, probably World War I era. But I didn't realize when I bought them that they were stamped with Wells Fargo, which is pretty cool when you think about it. And I paid $15 for them at the flea market and sold them for $55. And this is a nice glass paperweight by Selkirk with some nice pretty blue and white swirls and a bubble, and I paid $10 for that at the flea market and sold it for $38. Oh, and before I forget, these prices do not include shipping. Buyer pays shipping on most items. I am starting to do a little bit of free shipping with my jewelry now on Etsy, just on jewelry. So I think most of the things I'm showing you here are not free shipping. I don't know how I'm going to differentiate when I start selling more of the free shipping items. We'll just have to guess, I guess. This was a cool little item. Brass items seem to be selling pretty well for me. This is an apothecary set of weights. They nest inside each other, and I paid $10 for those at the flea market and sold them for $45. I'm not really sure how old they are, whether they're genuinely antique or if they're some type of, you know, reproduction. But they were cool, and they were definitely not new. They had a lot of oxidation on them. And this is a nice French etching, and I pick up nice prints when I find them. If they look old, if they look nicely done, good quality. One way you can tell if something is, well, this one's signed, but let's see if I can show you this sticker. This sticker on the back is SLL. I forget what that stands for, but if you see this sticker, it was sort of an etching or a print club that these artists belong to, where this company imported them to the United States to give U.S. citizens more culture, I guess. And they were sold at department stores and things for reasonable prices. And they're very collectible now. So Just a little tip. And this was just a really, really beautiful pendant necklace. Really nicely done silver work. It is crackle quartz, not a terribly special stone. And I did kind of pay up on it just because I just loved it so much. I paid $20 for it, and I sold it for $55, and I got it at the flea market. And this is called Lenca pottery, this black and white pottery from Honduras. It's got some lizards on it. I didn't know what it was when I bought it. I just thought it looked cool, looked kind of old. I paid $10 for it, and I sold it for $49, and I got it at the flea market. And this is a Native American piece. It was signed by Mike, which I discovered was Mike Simplicio. It's a bear. He's Zuni. He's stamped. Really cute. The signature upped the price a little bit. Oh, I got this. My sister-in-law gave me this in one of her. She sends me boxes of jewelry that she gets at her rummage sales for very, very cheap. And I sold him for $48. This is just such a cute piece. I paid $5 for him at the flea market. I had no idea what it was, but I found out that it was made from old steel drums. Homart, H-O-M-A-R-T, or Homart, was a name that I found associated with some similar sculptures, but I wasn't sure if it was the same thing. But anyway, I just thought he was adorable. I paid $5 for him, and I sold him for $35. And these were sent to me by my sister-in-law. She said she got them at the rummage sale, and she paid $1 for them. She didn't exactly know what they were, but she thought the embroidery was good quality. And I looked at them and I thought, and I suspected, and I was right, that these are lotus slippers. They are intended for bound feet, which is just, they're like 3 inches long, and imagine an adult woman's foot fitting in there. But I think that's what they were for. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what they're for. So I paid nothing for those, and I sold them for $95. I could have sold them for more, but the embroidery was really worn on one side of each shoe. But yeah, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting piece. And the guy who bought them from me knew like exactly what part of China they were from and everything. So that's pretty cool. And this was a carving from Papua New Guinea, Trobriand Island. It's a very distinctive type of carving of this cool fish. I didn't know what it was when I bought it, but I thought it was cool. I paid $9 for it, and I sold it for $35, which seems kind of cheap to me, but and this is a set of coffee mugs that I got at the rummage sale. They're from the Art Institute of Chicago, and each one of them has a famous painting on it. And I paid $1 a piece for the mugs, and I sold the set for $32. Unfortunately, one of the mugs broke on the way, but the people who bought them, the guy who bought them, they were so nice, and they were like, well, we like the other 3. And so I ended up refunding them half of their money, and they seemed to be very happy with that. So I still made a little profit, and they got 3 mugs instead of 4, which is kind of sad. And this little kind of coffin-shaped silver plate compact from the 1910s or 20s. This did not last long. It sold right away when I listed it. I paid $15 for it. It's just so different and cute. And I sold it for $45. And this was a great big old powder horn. It was not in the greatest condition, and it didn't have any engraving or anything special about it, but it's just cool. I buy things like that when I see them for a reasonable price. Because they're old. It's probably from the 1800s. And paid $15 for that at the flea market and sold it for $45. And this is a I don't know if I say that right, Koch, chromatic harmonica. I just love the graphics on the box. It's pretty easy to date. Just looking at it, from the 1930s. And not all harmonicas are created equal. I bought two the same day from the same place, and I paid $8 a piece for them. And one of them I think I sold for $15, but this one sold for $45, so that was better. And this is a cute little diorama made out of a coconut shell. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like. So tiny little figures. There's the back of it. It has a little wire hanger on it. These were sold as roadside souvenirs from Mexico in the 1940s, I think. Yeah, 1940s. And my sister-in-law gave me that, so I paid nothing for that, and I sold it for $45. And this is a dress with embroidered little tiny animals on it. I said it was from Mexico, the Oaxacan area. It's a huipil style dress, which means it's like one piece of fabric folded in half over the shoulders, and then it's sewn up the sides here, and the sleeves and the neckline cut out. I have since, after I sold it, realized it may have come from Guatemala because they did very similar things. So not sure about that. But anyway, I got that from my sister-in-law, so I paid nothing for that and sold it for $45. And this is a micro mosaic panel bracelet. Really pretty. Just had to have it. Paid too much for it. I paid $25 for it. Sold it for $55 though, so didn't do too badly. I just, I hate to tie up my money in things like that, but it didn't take too long to sell, so. And this was a lovely Native American made Navajo ring with a mother of pearl stone, and it was signed L. Reeves. And the woman who bought this ring, she thinks it's very old. She thinks it dates from the 1830s, and she might be right. I do not know. I would be shocked, but it's possible, I guess. Since I don't really know too much about it, and she seemed to know, she might be right. So anyway, I paid $10 for that at the flea market, and I sold it for $38. Oh, and this was just a really lovely embroidered dress from somewhere in Asia. I don't know where. This was another thing from my sister-in-law. Let's see if I can show you what the embroidery. Look at that beautiful embroidery. Isn't that gorgeous? For once I took good clothes. I don't take good pictures of. I don't sell a lot of clothes, and there may be a connection there, but I did well with this one, I think. Anyway, and I came from my sister-in-law, paid nothing for it, sold it for $37, which is so cheap for such a gorgeous dress, but oh well. And next we have these decorative tiles that came from Western Priory. I don't think I say that right, but anyway. These came from my sister-in-law, so I paid nothing for those, and I sold them for $39. They're really pretty. And this is a Cairo ware brass vase with silver and copper overlay from Egypt. I did have this listed as something else, and someone kindly sent me a message saying, hey, you know what this is? This is Cairo ware. So I appreciate that very much when people do that. I think maybe I said it was from the Middle East or Turkey or something. I wasn't very specific. Anyway, I paid $7 for that at the flea market, and I sold it for $58. And this is a gorgeous Weiss clear rhinestone brooch. Dates from the 1950s. Really nice condition. I find these quite often, but usually the stones are bad or, dark. And this one was really nice. And I got this from my sister-in-law, so I paid nothing for that, and I sold it for $36. And this is a Victorian brass bracelet. Really, really neat piece. Just fell in love with it. Paid $4 for that at the flea market, and I sold it for $42. And this was another piece I fell in love with and probably paid a bit much for, but it was just so pretty. It's a sterling silver and amethyst bracelet, and it's 930 sterling silver, which, you know, means it's older, and has these really pale lavender amethysts in it. And it seems to me I read somewhere that in Victorian times, amethysts were considered a lot more valuable than they are now because they weren't as plentiful, and that the pale ones were more valuable. But I can't remember exactly what it was, so that may be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, I liked it. I paid $40 for it, and I sold it for $95. Oh, in this cute Ottoman print, I got at a garage sale. And I paid $4 for it, and I sold it for $55. The frame was in pretty rough shape, but the print itself was really nice. And I love doing the research on these prints when they have information on the printer and stuff. You can usually figure out what edition it was. And this one came from the 1920s, when they still called them Cardinal Grosbeaks. I don't think they call them that anymore. And this was a nice little primitive. It was a small hand-carved wooden bowl. You could tell it was hand-carved and not turned because it wasn't completely round. And it came with this little chopper that perfectly matched the curve of the bowl. I just thought it was so cute. I paid $3 for that, I think, at the flea market, and sold it for $42. I did sit on it for a while. And then on to my eBay sales. I sold a few of these Swarovski crystal figurines that I was selling for a friend. So this one sold for $95. We were splitting the proceeds on these. I don't really like I'd rather buy things outright, but I didn't know too much about these figurines and didn't want to just buy them because I was afraid they wouldn't sell. But they are selling pretty well, so I'm doing okay. You know, they're selling for enough that it's worth my time. Then I sold this Rolling Stones t-shirt. This was mine from my personal collection, but I wore it to death and then decided that I just wasn't wearing it anymore, and Rolling Stones memorabilia sells for a lot. So even in this sad shape, it sold for $27. That one I sold it twice. The first person didn't pay for it, so I had to sell it again. And we have another Swarovski piece. It's really hard to see this. It was very, very hard to photograph this. But anyway, it's kind of a picture frame, I think, with these 3D fish on it. It was really cool. Sold for $145. That's the highest price I've gotten so far for any of them. And then this one is the Masquerade series, Columbine, and she sold for $69.95. And this is the Magic of Dance series, Isadora. I assume that's Isadora Duncan because she's got the scarf on her neck, and she sold for $135. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hopefully will be back very soon with a haul video. And yes, someone on my last haul video mentioned that I thought these were recent flea markets. This is back from October. Well, yeah, I'm still trying to get caught up, but I do the best I can. All right, so I will see you soon. Have a great one. Bye.